I'm so excited to introduce Her Royal Highness, Pricing Queen, and hero to all freelancers and design superwoman, Jasmine of Jasmine
Hi.
Designs.
Hi. I now have to have that as the way that I enter every room now.
I love it. We
Just
need
this
fanfare. Doo, doo, doo.
like perfect. Exactly.
I really do admire you, and I have been following you for a while. I love how much you motivate and empower and encourage freelancers. It's like, I wish you were in my life 15 years ago when I started out, and I felt so lost and confused and overwhelmed. And you're just magic. And the reason why I wanted to have you here is because I do have a very large freelance following. I know they're listening and they're excited that you're here. And I feel like they could really use your wisdom. So, Jasmine, we are so excited to listen to you today and get some of that wisdom. First of all, happy birthday. So
Thank
exciting.
you. Thank you
Yeah.
so
I
much.
know when I
Yeah,
say I follow you, I mean it. Not a
look, I
stalker.
definitely live my life a little bit online as a result of this whole thing that we do, which is freelance and freelance education and business. And it's definitely a little bit of a jarring moment when even the person who gives you your coffee in the morning, other than your husband, when you go and get a coffee in the morning and it's like, oh, happy birthday, or it looked really good that mural you did the other week, and you're like, oh, that's right.
I love that you do take us into your world. I actually do want to talk about your personal branding before we get into what you do. You have this whole cooking kitchen theme, which is so unique. I don't really see people doing that where they bring a theme into their brand. Why food? What inspired that? I am beyond curious.
Oh, I love this question already. So, the Creative Business Kitchen and everything that is encompassing the Creative Business Kitchen, the well-stocked pantry of the freelancers pantry, the many different servings that are first bites of pricing, master freelancer, like everything is food themed, and it's for two reasons. One, when I was learning to design, when I was learning to create, one of my teachers at the time had a really profound impact on me. And he was actually my advertising and marketing teacher. And he always taught us that there's power in creating a theme because it entertains as well as educates and informs. And so that's why when I was trying to develop this, I wanted to go with a food theme because it's kind of like that scene in Mean Girls where it's like, why do you like math? It's like, well, it's the same in every language. Well, I feel like food is one of those things that brings people together or tears them apart, depending on how passionate they are about it. And it works as a really beautiful vehicle for a lot of the analogies that are quite complex when it comes to running a freelance business. You know, we can sit there and go, oh, I know everything, I have all the skills. But if you say you've got all the ingredients for success, it completely changes the message and makes you think, oh, maybe I do. The other side of it is that I come from a family of small business, but my dad is actually a butcher. I worked in the butcher shop for 14 years, and my dad
Wow.
always built the business on the idea that you need to be big enough to serve someone, but small enough to know them. You need to be big enough to be able to do the things that they want, serve the different pieces of meat or different servings that are going to bring their family together over the dinner table. But you need to be small enough to remember those small moments that it's like Bobby's birthday in October, or that there's a particular client that can't, a particular customer that can't take gluten. So you therefore change the way that you serve to help serve them. Because at the moment, I feel like we do get so caught up in that whole sell, 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 sell. But if you
Yeah.
switch sell for help and serve, it changes the narrative for yourself, helps you be more authentic, and also it just brings an element of fun. Like, I cannot tell you how many different people I follow online who teach similar stuff to me, but I know that I've got my differentiation because I teach it through the art of potatoes and and secret sauces, and it plants itself in the back of the brain of a freelancer. And if I can sit there and be there in that spot when they need pricing help, then I've done my job, and that's all that I need.
So cool. And it really is very memorable. It really does set you apart, which is why I was drawn to it in the first place. I was like, this is cool. No one's doing this. Like, why aren't we doing this more? So I really do appreciate it. And I love food. And I'm sure you get that a lot where people are like, I like being a freelancer. I really like food. You do both. This is awesome. You bring both worlds together. You inspire freelancers. You talk a lot about pricing and how to price your services. Why this niche of freelancers? What made you decide, like, this is where, like, why pricing? Why pricing for freelancers? Like, where did that inspiration come from?
I chose pricing for freelancers because it was the thing that I saw the most struggles with and the easiest thing to fix. Like, I think that skills can only be built up over time, and there's a really big need for building up your own skills as a freelancer. And I've myself have been a freelancer for 15 years now. I've been in the creative industry for 15 years. I was freelancing whilst I was working in my early days, and then transitioned into full-time freelance about 8 years ago. And I
We have very similar timelines, by the way, which I find very interesting. I'm
oh,
like,
there
yeah,
you go.
went through the same journey.
I love that. And that's another thing that, like, a lot of that's a very similar thing that I have with quite a few other people, is that we're all in that sort of millennial middle ground, but also we're trying to navigate what we look like and what we look for and what makes us happy, because we have traditionally been taught in our teens that work, 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 work. And I'm not talking like a Rihanna song. I'm talking like oh my God, I need to call up my employer and cry on the phone to them because I'm too sick to come in, and therefore I'm in debt to them because I can't come into work.
Yeah.
I feel like we're now in our 30s and we're trying to work out, okay, what does my flavor of success look like, taste like, smell like, sound like? It's working out what it works for us. And coming back to your question around choosing pricing was something that I was having people jump in my DMs and ask me questions about. And I love to find a formula or a logic or a process in something. And I was finding too many people were like, oh, I just go with my gut reaction of what I should price. And if you're pulling numbers out of your butt, your pricing probably stinks.
Yeah.
And if you're finding yourself not being able to sustain a freelance business, it begs the question, are you pricing because you're pricing for what the client can afford, or for what your business can afford to do today, tomorrow, or the next day? Because our prices are not our responsibility when it comes to whether they can be afforded by our clients, but it is our responsibility to make sure that they do serve the future of our business. Because if we're not around to be able to serve constantly because we've priced too low, because we've not been able to be confident in our prices, or we've discounted to get the job, but then realized that now we can't even make a profit off the job and we may as well just go back to that job that we were in before, then we're not going to be around for very long. And that's going to be, it has run-on effects. It's not just about, oh, I wasn't able to make a profit on this job. Oh, well, next time. You're going to think about that the next time you price a job. You're going to sit there and kind of try to guess the right price. And then just the cycle keeps going and going. So we've got to be the ones to change it and alter it for ourselves.
Yeah. And it's funny, as you're talking, I'm like getting PTSD from the days I would just pull these low numbers out of a hat because I didn't want to lose the sale. I didn't want to lose the client. And like you said, we adjust prices to get the client. And, we price ourselves so low that it's not even worth it. Like, we're doing the job and we're not even happy doing it. And the client's not even happy.
Absolutely.
Like, no one's happy. No one's
happy here. And I feel like it's such a common experience and a common thing to say. But the sentence, I priced low so my clients could afford me, is really assumptive. Really, really assumptive. It makes us, it breeds that thought process of, to be able to be hired, I need to be cheap, or I need to be affordable.
Yeah.
But what if the opposite was true? What if those two sentences, or those two halves of the sentence, actually had nothing to do with each other? I've got clients of mine who will ask for cheaper prices, and if they do ask for cheaper prices, that becomes a larger conversation of like, okay, are we trying to fit within a budget? How can I use my creative problem solving skills to be able to adjust what I need to charge to be able to facilitate that? Or is it an education piece? Is it an opportunity for me to come back and say, look, unfortunately, I'm not able to meet you at that budget for these particular reasons, and none of them can be emotional. Not a single one can be emotional.
That's hard.
And it's
It's really
hard.
hard to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really hard. And it's not even that it gets easier, it's that you get better at doing it. You get better at having logical conversations around what you're able to bring to the table. And when we drop our prices without justification, we tell our clients we're worth less, not worthless, that we're worth less. And we find ourselves saying to them, in completely not actually saying to them, but in a way, I would have charged less. All you had to do was ask. And that
Exactly.
sucks. That
It's the
sucks so
worst.
much. So if we find a way to be able to logically justify our prices to ourselves, not to our clients, to ourselves, we will find it easier to communicate the what, where, why, how to our clients. And if we do need to adjust, then we can have that conversation confidently rather than going, oh, well, I'll take a little bit less just so that the client's happy. You actually become more valuable when you work with a client to find a solution to a problem. And sometimes that is altering how much it costs them. But in the end, clients are trying to avoid cost. They're not trying to lower it. They're trying to avoid it completely. So they are, cost is what they avoid, but the price is what they pay and the value is what they get. And if we can keep thinking about that process of those three steps, we can then show up in the best way possible and be more valuable because we're trying to help them solve a problem rather than being like, this is the price, take it or leave it, or I've halved it just so that you will say yes. It's deceptive. So why not try and start off on the best foot forward with our clients and with ourselves?
Totally agree. Those are such good points. I you just mentioned the word value, so this question just popped into my head. How do we determine value? Is it quality of work? Is it quantity? What's the formula for value? How do we as freelancers figure that out?
Okay, so the value is defined by three different parts. The first is you. You have to define what it is valued to you first and foremost. Whatever job that pops across your desk or whatever offer you're creating, you need to make sure that it is valuable enough for you. Now, everyone's value is different, whether it is cost of living, whether it's time that you put on, sorry, the value that you put on your time or the dollar amount that you put on your time, but it also could be the value of you not doing the work. Like I've got a friend of mine who says, I value my naps at $1,000. If I'd rather be napping, I will not take the job if it's under $1,000. And so it's working out what the value is for you first. Then after we have worked out and set exactly how much we need to charge to be able to secure not only the future of our freelance business, but the ability for us to say yes, then we move on to what the value is for the client. Now, when it comes to the value to the client, there's a few different factors. Are you saving them time? Are you making them money? Or are you giving them a way to make more money in their own business? And if it's any one of those three, the value changes from what it was valued to you. So it increases or it alters. It also might be worth considering what's the value of them doing nothing. So if they were to not get a logo or not invest in decent branding, are they devaluing their ability to make money? Or are you facilitating that by giving them better branding, more valuable branding? Now, the third one to consider, and this is not always the case, it depends on the industry that you're looking at, but it's the value to the customer. So I had a job that I did a little while ago, let's just say a couple of years ago, where I designed fabric for a dress, a series of dresses, and those dresses were produced, I think there was 200 units that were produced. So the value for me was knowing how long I needed to make those patterns, what the extra bits and pieces that were relevant within that job. So it's not just about the hours that I'm working, it's about the back and forth. It's about making sure that that file is set up in the right way or it's communicated to the customer in the right way so that they get the best outcome possible. I cannot tell you how many times I have to talk printer talk to then them copy and paste and send off to a printer.
Been there.
Then it was looking at the value to the customer. Like I was saving them time because I was able to facilitate the things that were taking up a lot of their time. I was giving them an opportunity to make more money because it was a bespoke look. It was a bespoke design. And I was giving them the ability to not only print, but reprint and reprint in the future. Then came the value to the customer. Now, these dresses were a recommended retail of around $200 a piece. So that means that those 200 units times $200 a piece, like already you can see the math is mathing, it's going up. So it means that immediately the client is making that amount of money. You can generally guess that most businesses run on about a 30% profit. So if what I'm doing at the very start is going to make them back their investment in less time than it takes for me to do the job, then I should be pricing it more from the start. Now, that whole process takes time to get your head around, to develop, to understand that it's not just about your time exchange, but a larger conversation and a larger expectation of what value is. But if you start thinking about, well, what does this actually do? What does this facilitate? What does this create for them? And how does that influence the price that I put on what I'm doing? Then that's going to put you in a better position. And I know the first question when someone will say is, but it only took me 5 hours. But if your 5 hours is more valuable as a result of what it creates, and you only find that out after you've got the paid invoice, would you change the price? And if it's a yes, then do it before you send the invoice or send the estimate to begin with.
That is such great advice. And I love the way you broke that down. Every time you answer a question, I'm like, ooh, this is good. I want to dive into that and like just get into the meat of that.
Sorry, guys, this is going to be a 3-parter. I don't even apologizing. Screw it. There you go.
Seriously, I could talk about this for hours with you. I want to talk about self-worth because what you're saying now, like it makes so much sense. And I imagine anyone listening would agree with me that I now, as I hear you, I'm like, yeah, what I do really is worth so much more than what I'm probably pricing it at. What is it about freelancers? And I see this across the board because I'm a business coach. So I see freelancers struggling with self-worth. What is that piece holding us back? Why? And I say we because I've been down that line. I've been down that road. I remember when I charged $400 for a logo and thought it was a lot of money and I was shaking sending that invoice out. What is it about us that we cannot see our worth? We can't look on the outside and look in and really see how much work we're putting in. Like you said, how much time we're saving our customers. What is that block? What's preventing us from recognizing that?
The reason why we can't see our magic is because it's a cape and it's flying behind us and it is not for us. Our magic is not for us. It is for other people. We are too busy flying forward to recognize that the cape that we leave and the trail of magic and creative genius that we leave is actually happening because we're concentrated on what we can see, not what's happening behind us. And that's a blessing and a curse. It can be a really good thing because it means that you are not kind of looking back and going, oh, I'm living in the past. But it also can be an opportunity for you to go, that happened. I'm just going to slow down just a little bit to kind of go, oh, okay, cool. Maybe I'm having a more positive impact than I thought I was. I think the other thing is that we get in our own way in that we think others' expectations of us are higher than what they actually are. That the Amy Porterfields and Jasmine Stars and Christos of the world, they don't have struggles ever. That they never have a bad day, that they never have situations where they mess up, that they change their mind. We think that they've got it all dialed in, and that even when it's kind of like if you know the play That Goes Wrong, it's this beautiful, incredible theatrical piece where everything that goes wrong is actually scripted, and we think that everyone's things that go wrong are scripted. Like, oh, they were meant to change that, or they were going to change that anyway. We're just, getting the result of that. Well, actually, we're not just getting the result of that. we're watching them alter their path. We're watching them course correct or even navigate into somewhere where they're not quite sure. And even if they came back and said, look, I made some mistakes, you would think, oh, how relatable, how
Yeah.
wonderful, how fantastic that they're able to have that conversation with us and say, you know what, I'm honestly not quite sure what I'm doing here. I tried something, it didn't work. We think that they've got it all sorted, that they haven't had the struggles that we've had, or that they're not feeling them right now. They are. They definitely are. I know this because I've got students of mine. One said to me a couple of weeks ago, said, how do you know that you've made it? Because you obviously have. I don't believe I have. I believe that I've made the current version, like a past version of success for me was me right now, but it is not my current version of success. That one I will reach. It's not a goal, it's an inevitability. And the more that we try to think about that from a creative perspective of like, I'm not good at this yet. What an opportunity to find out whether I will be. I'm not nailing this yet. What a good opportunity to find out if it's something that I'm interested in nailing. Our version of success is only really important to us. We're all just one big Zumba class trying to get the moves right and thinking that everyone is watching us. They're only working out whether they can do a kickball change themselves. It's all good. Just keep dancing to your own beat.
I find that fear also holds a lot of people back. Like they're so
Mhm.
afraid of failing and messing up that they don't want to even try. And I think it's important to note that sometimes you need to dive in and make it messy to get to where you need to be. Like look at the picture of success. Like where do you want to get to? And we can really continue to get to that best version of us by just overcoming those obstacles, overcoming those fears. And that includes knowing our worth and pricing our work properly. So,
Mhm.
like even that first invoice that we send could be so scary, but what if I actually charged for my time? What if I actually charged my worth? Um,
Mm.
Going into that, charging for your time and your worth, you don't do free masterclasses. You do paid masterclasses, which I'm bowing to you because nobody is doing that. They do the free thing and then they try to sell something at the end. And you came out on Instagram and said, I am not doing that. These are actual presentations that I put my hard work into. I am charging for it because you're going to gain a lot out of it. And kudos to you, Jasmine. That's awesome. What was that moment where you said, I'm charging for this? Like you see everyone, no one's doing that. Everyone's doing the free thing. When did you say I'm putting a price tag on that?
When I realized that it went against what I'm teaching. I am teaching you as a freelancer to value what you bring into the world. I am teaching you as a freelancer to value your genius. And the second or third best way I can do that is by doing it myself, by acting like that is important to me because it is. I've done a couple of free workshops. I definitely did free masterclasses to begin with. But the way that I kind of have been working it through, and I literally was saying this to my husband yesterday, I'm in the middle bit, that middle bit that you kind of go, oh, I'm not sure. So I need to work out what feels right. I'm just come off a massive launch of so masterclasses I don't sell at the end. Like you'll find out that they're part of the freelancers pantry, and if you're wanting to join the membership, that's there. But it's more important about what you learn in the masterclass. The boot camp that I just ran, that was a 2-day boot camp. You still got everything from that experience, but I showed that the Master Freelancer was opening at the end of that, and I did that whole process. For me, I touched in my own way, in my own belief, I touched too close to the sleazy salesman. And I know that it did not come across that way. I know that many people sat there and was like, oh no, that's fine. That's all good. But it got too close to me. So I was just like, nah, I'm changing some things. I've literally been drafting the email that I'm sending out about it today on
Wow.
going, this is a hard email to write. I am a recovering perfectionist and people pleaser. I am someone who is very authentic, and this was not as authentic as I could have been. So rather than sitting here and telling you all of the things, here are the 3 things that I'm going to be doing or changing because of it, because I'm listening to my gut, because I'm watching for things that feel inauthentic, and no one can change that for me but me. And so I'm still going to continue doing the paid masterclasses because they are incredibly valuable. I'm still going to show up in the freelancers pantry and still going to be creating the stuff for the master freelancer. And those are all paid things. But that does not mean that there isn't value to be achieved or snacked on from a free perspective. I know that I have got so many freebies. I've got free mini guides that I've put out every couple of months, or at the moment every 2 months. There's like 4 free mini guides. I know that I show up to summits and those are free versions. I know that all of my blogs and all of my YouTube content are free. I know that every single podcast that I show up on is a free thing. And it's something that someone doesn't have to pay to access. And information, in my opinion, is free, but action is a paid service. So a masterclass is an action item. The pantry is an action item. So I will always show up with as much free information as possible that I feel I can give. But as soon as it requires action on either your part or my part, I think it's only fair that I teach exactly what I'm trying to teach you in a way that says, my time is valuable, as is yours. Let's both honor it by a small amount and keep going to have this as the moment that changes things for you, that you go, well, if I can pay $37 for a masterclass, I can charge $3,000 for a brand easily.
Yeah, I really like how you found that balance. You know where you're putting the free value out, but you also know where to draw the line and say, this is, like you said, it's action. I'm charging for it. I also find that when you do charge for things, people take it more seriously and they implement more, and you get better results that way, as opposed to a free challenge and you don't even know who's joining and if they're sticking to it, and there's no commitment.
And I've done
there.
those.
Yeah.
I've had 300 people join a free challenge, the 5-day Raise Your Rate challenge. I've had 300 people join it from the live version, and then a subsequent, I don't even know how many people join it from the evergreen, where they just watch a different video each day. It's a 5-day email thing that comes out. And yeah, it's super valuable. But I believe that the action happens in those moments where someone goes, I've invested not just time, but a small amount of money, and I want to see a return on investment. So they invest more as a result. And that's what I want. I didn't get into this education for freelancers game to make money. But if I can't show up authentically and charge for my time, I can't expect them to do the same. So it's all about making sure that I walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah, and you definitely do. And that's why I even brought up the question, because I do see that you practice what you preach. I don't feel like you come off salesy. You very authentically want to help freelancers succeed. Even the testimonials you share are authentic. They don't feel forced or like I put them through a free thing and look at all this good, juicy testimonial stuff. Like, it really feels like you help them. They're at the other side. They've crossed over to success because you guided them. So I appreciate that as a viewer looking in.
And I can tell you, every single time that I've watched any of those testimonials, especially some of the ones that I shared from the last round of Master Freelancer, I cried so much afterwards, because not only am I so proud of the result from them, but I am so thankful that I get to do this. I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to be able to share what my version of my magic is, and enable someone to make more money, to change their life. And I've found the opposite, where I've gotten really frustrated and really angry when I've had someone who has said to me, look, I can't afford that. And I've said, okay, cool. I understand there's heaps of other free resources. What can I do to help you? And I get really angry and frustrated, because the reality is there's people out there that aren't able to, or can't see that they can make money. And that's a reality for some people, and that breaks my heart. But I want to be able to try and find and help the people that I can help. And with that comes the understanding, and it's got to be the same for every freelancer as well. So if you're a freelancer getting frustrated that clients can't afford you, recognizing sometimes that they will when they can, and if they don't now, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You need to be okay with not being chosen and actually reframe what that means for you. Does that mean that you can take this as an information or education piece that you then educate your future clients? Is it that you go, might have dodged a bullet and I'm not having to deal with that client? Or, wow, that was going to be 3 months worth of work that, yes, I've now lost, but now I have the capacity to actually handle the things that I've put on my plate, that I've overstuffed my plate. Maybe I'll be able to actually have that work-life balance that I went freelance for.
Yeah, it's really true. I feel like things do work itself out. Like we do see things fall into place. And with every opportunity that we feel like we lost, there's room for a new one. It's never a total loss. And I've learned that over the
Never.
last 15 years. It's never a total loss. And I know in the early stages, I did take it to heart. And now I'm like, okay, it didn't work out. On to the next one. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a loss, it's just room for the next thing. You talk about productizing your services. And as a freelancer, you know, this is how it works. And I remember when I used to do this, it wasn't that long ago, you know, this was several years ago. I was like, I can do your website and I can do your photography and I can do the photography for your website and oh, I can do your logo. We have all this stuff. And I love how you talk about productizing services. It's such an important thing to talk about. So I really want to bring it up. And I see you vouch for this. Like I think you have a course on it, right? So why is this so important?
So productizing a service is basically packaging up the solution to a core problem that you know how to solve like a boss. Like you are very good at it. You can't productize something that you don't know how to solve. Is the first thing that I need to like get out there, because so many people are like, oh, we're going to productize everything. Well, that's cute, but like just don't. Because what a productized service does is it sets you as the go-to person to solve a particular problem. Now, it doesn't have to be that that's the only thing that you serve. That might be that it's part of your what I call spread of offers. So you might have some stuff that you do on project basis. You might have some packages that like solve particular different levels of a particular problem, or it might be a productized service that has a flat fee paid up front, very specific deliverables and very specific problem that it solves for your customers and clients. And it's the thing that you could do daily, nightly, and ever so rightly so well to the point where it's like, I could make sales for this in my sleep. Now, the common myths that happen are like, oh, a productized service is a cheapened version. No, it uses pricing psychology for sure. And it utilizes the understanding that it is a set price for a solution to a problem. But I've seen productized services be $2,000. I've seen productized services be $10,000. It's about packaging up the perfect ideal solution for your customer to solve a problem that is costing them money, that is priced at a way that makes them money. I love the idea of a productized service being part of the rest of the things that you do, because I'm a multi-passionate. I have the wonderful blessing of a sparkly brain where I'm not interested in serving the same thing every single day. If I was, I would have stayed as a barista. I would have stayed doing what I was doing before. What my joy is finding that the way I solve a problem can be as creative as the work itself. So whether that is saying to a client, well, I can see that we've got a lot of work to do, and honestly, we don't both know how much work is going to be required. So maybe we switch to a retainer model, or I can see that you're going to need, this many deliverables every month. How about I put you on a subscription service and this is what you get. And then when you don't need it anymore, you just unsubscribe. Or do I just solve and there's so many different ways to serve it in different ways, because a lot of the time, if we just go, it's $5,000, well, $1,000 a month for 5 months feels a lot less full on. And if it's going to take us 5 months to do it anyway, then why not create that cushion that helps us deal with the feast or famine feeling roller coaster that is freelance, and utilize the different ways to price so that we can have different things moving. I do have stuff that I sometimes do hourly. I do have projects that I do. I have retainers that are churning away. I have productized services. I have digital products. Like having a wide spread of offers and different ways for people to access my genius is a core part of the reason why I'm a successful freelancer today, is because I've realized that it doesn't have to be one size fits all, one serve feeds the masses. It's about finding the different ways that people can do it. And that doesn't devalue any of them. They're
Yeah.
all different values and they're different accesses. And that's important.
It is important. And I think that, sometimes freelancers do limit themselves to the hourly or the project. And I feel like there are so many creative ways to serve and help our customers and our clients. And I get giddy about productizing. Like I'm a little bit of a nerd with productizing my services. I'm like, what could we name it? How could we package it? It's a
And
little
that's the
too much
thing.
fun.
Yeah. Like and that's the joy of it, of finding a different way to solve the problem in different ways. And you package it up with a fun name and something memorable and like a list of deliverables. And you package it up so that when someone has that key problem on their plate, that they call you because you've already told them that you can solve it. It takes away that whole sales conversation requirement because you don't need to sell it. They've found you as the solution. You just need to show up and serve.
Yes, so true. Jasmine, this has been such a pleasure. We can go on for hours, seriously, and we'll maybe do this again soon. Where can people find you and follow you and hire you?
So if you are hungry for more pricing, puns, food related content, head over to Your Pricing Queen on Instagram. I am constantly on there. If you are wanting to also access my free pricing calculator, you can head to creativebusinesskitchen.com/Michelle, and then you'll be able to access all the bits and pieces on how to create a rate that actually serves you and the future of your business. And then otherwise, I am kind of everywhere at the moment, which is really, really lovely. To be able to show up on YouTube stuff, to be able to show up on my Instagram and on my socials, as well as in the Creative Business Kitchen. Because at the end of the day, it's just also feeding not only your hunger for knowledge, but the future of your freelance business.
Amazing. And I'm going to link to all that in the show notes just to make it easier for everyone to access. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.